Well, guys, as Sam very accurately put it here, the Jade Dragon has fallen. And after all the trouble she's caused us, I'm not afraid to celebrate it a little. If you're not at all sad to see the dragon getting her wings clipped a little bit, or if you're finding value in these videos, please consider delegating to the Army of Spies stake pool, ticker AOS. I'm going to go ahead and admit I am well caffeinated and well kavafied with some very fine Vanuatu kava right now. So, probably no better state to be in to talk about this topic. Crypto has been the subject of a certain type of attack by various actors within the current US government. And it's unclear whether the dragon was an architect of that attack or just a very prominent foot soldier. But the dragon has been heavily involved in this attack on crypto for the last, it feels like forever. It feels like it's been a lifetime that this has been going on. If you're confused, why do we call her the dragon? It's because she showed up to a certain press brief. It was a hearing. It wasn't even a press briefing. It was a hearing. She showed up to a certain hearing early in her career attacking crypto. This was early in this phase of her career where she was attacking crypto, and she was wearing this emerald green outfit that could only be described as dragon-esque. And her behavior toward crypto has been dragon-esque, very much like a dragon trying to guard her gold, guard the legacy system, not allow any changes to the status quo. She's been very dragon-esque, and she dressed as a dragon, so she's the dragon. But here's what's happened recently. These attacks on crypto from the dragon, whether she's a foot soldier or fully an architect of this attack, she's been very highly involved in this. And up until now, the attacks have been unabated and undeterred, undefended. We've got our allies in Congress as well, even in the Senate, but the dragon is very effective. Until now, the dragon has gotten her wings clipped because she's been wrong all along about crypto, but this time it was very obvious she was wrong because in crypto, we keep receipts. We have a blockchain that records everything. Most blockchains, most large public blockchains are very transparent. So when somebody gets it completely wrong, it's pretty easy for us to produce the receipts. And that was the case in this case, unfortunately, for the dragon. So this article came out, oddly, only 3 days after the attack on Israel. So this is a Wall Street Journal article called Hamas Militants Behind Israel Attack Raised Millions in Crypto. So you'd think that the Wall Street Journal would have better things to report on. There was a lot going on in those initial days after the attack on Israel. You'd think they'd have a lot to report on other than funding of Hamas. But in this case, they chose to run this article. The subheadline is Digital Currency Transactions Highlight How U.S. and Israel Have Struggled to Sever the Access of Hamas, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, and Hezbollah to foreign funding. So basically, you can see where this is going. They're going to blame everything on crypto. But that's not enough for the dragon because, as you can see in this ad, she is branding herself as the person who is building an anti crypto army. So, what did she do? She put together this letter that went to the Undersecretary for Terrorism and Financial Intelligence, as well as Jake Sullivan, the National Security Advisor at the White House. And she got 104 of her fellow Congress people to sign on to this letter. Yes, 104. She got 104 fellow members of Congress to sign on to this letter. And did this letter say, hey, we should combat Hamas in any way possible. No, that's not what the letter says. The letter starts out with this: we write to express our grave concern regarding reports that in the months leading up to their brutal and horrific October 7th attack on Israel, okay, good, all good so far, Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad raised millions of dollars in crypto. Millions. The two groups raised over 130 million in crypto and moved millions among each other. So let's get this straight. They're straight up quoting the number from the Wall Street Journal article and saying they raised 130 million in crypto, with Palestinian Islamic Jihad sending over 12 million in crypto to Hezbollah since 2023. And then they go on to cite the Wall Street Journal report. So, of course, if this were true, then this might be warranted. You want to shut down all of the forms of financing for all the terrorists you can. And so this would be warranted if this were true. Unfortunately for the dragon and her cronies, and I'm not saying everybody who signed that letter in Congress is a crony of the dragon. People probably saw the proposed letter and they saw the Wall Street Journal article and they were horrified by what happened in Israel, so they happily signed on. But we keep receipts in crypto, and this is the kind of thing we're going to check, because if there's one thing we know in crypto, it's that a blockchain is a terrible way to secretly transmit funds, because there's a record of everything on large public blockchains. There's a lot of transparency. There's a record of everything. You can see exactly what funds are going between what wallets. This is not an ideal environment for a terror group. So we knew we had the receipts, and once they were checked, it showed a very different picture of what happened here. Here's the article put out by Elliptic on the 25th of October. You'll notice that Wall Street Journal article went out on the 10th, just 3 days after the attack. This is on the 25th of October, so it might take us a little time, but eventually the truth will out in crypto. This article says, setting the record straight on crypto crowdfunding by Hamas. And they've got a few different things to say. They say there is no evidence to support the assertion that Hamas has received significant volumes of crypto donations. A full understanding of blockchain analysis and the context of any analysis is needed when using these insights to draw conclusions. Elliptic has engaged with the Wall Street Journal to correct misinterpretations of the level of crypto fundraising by Hamas. In addition, we have been in discussions with the office of Senator Warren to ensure that the relevant parties have a proper appreciation of the complexities and nuances of analyzing these wallets. And the really interesting part is down here in this paragraph. Since the Hamas attacks of October 7th, the most prominent public crypto fundraising campaign has been operated by Gaza Now, a pro-Hamas news organization. However, only 21,000 in cryptocurrency has been donated since October 7th, and thanks to the efforts of crypto businesses and researchers, much of this has been frozen, preventing Gaza Now from being able to use these funds. On October 9th, Gaza Now sent around 2,000 of the donated cryptocurrency to an exchange, presumably to cash out, where it was promptly frozen. In addition, around 9,000 in stablecoin donations were frozen by Tether, the stablecoin issuer. In contrast, crypto fundraising for humanitarian causes in Israel is flourishing. For example, Crypto Aid Israel had received over 185,000 in crypto donations by October 19th to support those impacted by the attacks. So, based on this, I mean, you could say that this is since the attacks, but still, just based on this, it looks like crypto is a terrible way for Hamas to move money, and actually a great way for aid organizations, humanitarian organizations responding to the attack, to receive donations. This is exactly the opposite of the picture that was painted probably by Elizabeth Warren's office when they were convincing those 103 some odd other members of Congress to sign on to that letter. Luckily, it wasn't just us in crypto who noticed all this going on. By November, articles like this were circulating. This one is from Forbes: how misinformation on Hamas and crypto fooled nearly 20% of Congress. And this article goes on to compare, sort of obliquely compare this to things like the Gulf of Tonkin incident, uh, searching for years for Osama bin Laden in the wrong country, disputed reports of weapons of mass destruction as the cause for the American invasion of Iraq. They refer to it as the $130 million mix up. They talk about Senator Warren being the self appointed generalissima of the anti crypto army. They talk all about the letter. And then they go on to talk about a hearing where Warren tried to cite certain experts who she thought would be good witnesses to show that crypto was really the problem here. Crypto and Hamas are hand in hand, and we definitely need to get rid of crypto to combat Hamas. Unfortunately, she talked to people who actually knew something about crypto, like Dr. Matthew Levitt, a counterterrorism scholar at the Washington Institute for Near East Policy, who said, I do think that number is very likely exaggerated. Then she talked to Dr. Shlomit Wagman, a senior fellow at Harvard who previously led Israel's campaign against terrorist fund financing. Certainly someone who would know something about Hamas financing. And she also gave the Dragon some news that was very unwelcome on the part of the Dragon. So Senator Warren called crypto one big one in terms of the laundering tools used by Hamas. But Dr. Wagman came back, challenged this assertion, and emphasized that the major funding for Hamas comes not through crypto, but through bank accounts, money exchanges, and cash. She said most of its budget and funds is still going through the traditional channels, and I want to make that clear. Wagman also reminded lawmakers that crypto is currently a very small part of the puzzle. The major funding channels were, and remain state funding. Iran and others, those are the major players. And then the article even goes on to talk about the competing vision for crypto regulation from Senator Lummis, who is certainly a big ally of crypto. This is a pretty big turning point. Look at the look on the dragon's face here. This is the look of a dragon who knows at least part of one of her wings has been clipped. She knows it's going to be much harder to guard the gold from here on out. She's lost a lot of credibility because these 104, I think I said 103 earlier, but this article is saying 104. These 104 other members of Congress, they don't like getting mud on their face when they sign a letter citing these figures and these figures turn out to be 100% wrong. I mean, I guess Elliptic said what $2,000 might have gotten through, but that's certainly very different than 130 million. Elizabeth Warren lost a lot of credibility, I think, with this letter she tried to push through, and I think it's going to be just a little bit easier for us in crypto to fight those battles in Washington. I hope you had a great weekend. I hope you're starting out a great week, and I'll talk to you soon.